Big Six.
My one big thing this week, we're going back to sports. We're on a sports.
We have sports in yellow,
sports.
too.
Yeah, that's right. We do. I got to keep my live golf hat by the recording desk here.
Should I grab mine?
Would you
I got
grab
my
yours?
range. I got my range ghost.
Is it nearby?
Hold on 1 second.
Okay, we just did a little cut there, Richard, so that we could get our various live golf merch on.
Nice.
Okay, we're such dorks.
Yes, we are.
Okay.
The beauty of it is we get to be dorkish together.
That's right. Yeah, it's like,
It's like a chess club.
That's right. That's right. Although having gone to a live golf event with you, Richard, it is significantly cooler than any chess club. In fact, it's cooler than normal golf. We both asserted. Anyway, Richard, my one big thing this week, sports bender. It's summer. We are playing the cards that are dealt to us because, as we discussed, actually, and kind of connected to your one big thing this week, a lot of the media coverage on Saudi Arabia is about sports. I mean, if you were to sort of scan, and we did this last week, it's like half of all stories are on sports or something having to do with sports because sports media is huge. So you have European soccer and football, you have live golf and all of that going on. So it's just been sports on sports and sports. This week, Richard, is another big story for Saudi Arabian sports. A new report from the Financial Times this week, which cited two unnamed sources familiar with the matter. And before we let speculation run wild, neither of us are the sources for that story. Saudi Arabia plans to launch a multi-billion-dollar golf investment company to expand its sports interests following its power grab in golf and success in English football. That's a quote from the Financial Times. So here is what we know based on the story from the Financial Times, which is one of the most rigorous paywalls out there. So I'm going to kind of just talk about the facts that are in there. We'll include a link to it, but yeah, kind of a tough paywall to crack into.
Yeah, hopefully you subscribe.
It is a great paper. It's a great publication. It's just, so it's, you just can't like share articles. I found a way to do it, but you typically can't.
And if you can afford to subscribe, please talk to us about, becoming a supporter of Saudi U.S. trade.
Yeah, just give us the money and we'll read you the Financial Times on the podcast. The Sports Investment Group, it does not have a name, Richard. That's what they called it in the story. The Sports Investment Group is in the formation stage, and it will unsurprisingly be part of the Kingdom's Sovereign Wealth Fund, the PIF. The fund will have what the Financial Times called a quote unquote war chest, which if it's Saudi Arabia can only mean a lot of money to fund its expansion, in a sign that Riyadh is committed to making further acquisitions, investments, and JVs in football, tennis, and other sports. Richard, the article quotes Professor Simon Chadwick about 4 paragraphs down, and I had to read very closely to see if they had just listened to last week's episode and use his quotes. They didn't, I don't think, which is sad because it would have been really great to get that hat tip in the Financial Times. And that would make us one step closer to having lunch with the Financial Times, one of my favorite sections. So obviously our listeners and viewers know Simon Chadwick was on with us last week. And he sort of answered some questions about the size of the fund. There isn't really anything on that. The article then goes on to discuss the recent history of the PIF's interest and foray into sports, starting with its investment into the world of golf, live golf, and PGA, and some of that context, and now interest in tennis, which our regular listeners know quite well. So back to what we know from the article, neither Live Golf nor Newcastle United will fall under the new company, according to one person familiar with the matter, who said it would be focusing on new opportunities, which is very interesting. The company's launch will coincide with the PIF asserting a bigger role in the kingdom's football ambitions, which, Richard, was your one big thing a few weeks ago, including strengthening its clubs at home, investing into the clubs itself, with the PIF taking stakes in 4 clubs, and also with acquisitions of major global stars for the Saudi League. One more interesting bit in this piece, Richard, an interesting comp that the piece makes. The report says the new sports company could adopt the same approach with the PIF has taken towards the gaming industry with its investment company Savvy. The company, which is chaired by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, has a $38 billion war chest and has spent almost $8 billion on acquisitions over the past 18 months in what one analyst, is according to the Times, described as a, quote, bulldozer approach snapping up among others the US-based games developer Scopely for $5 billion. So this is news. This is a new strategy for the PIF. So instead of having this PIF wide interest in sports, it would be sort of compartmentalizing it into I guess, a subsidiary, or it's not really clear on exactly how it might be structured, but this would sort of formalize the PIF's, or crystallize the PIF's interest in sports into a organization that has its mandate to invest in sports and would be separate from some of the other stuff they're doing. So this is news and this is interesting. We will see as more details come out in the wake of this article, which was published about on Monday or Tuesday. Fascinating stuff. Yeah, I mean that's my one big thing this week, because we've covered so many sporting stories, and this is a big one this week.
Yeah, excellent one. Really interesting. I guess three initial thoughts. One, it's fascinating how Saudi Arabia has sort of become the boogeyman in global sports. Because when you look at this article, is there anything there? There is an interesting analysis of what's gone on and that sort of thing, but it's right now it's just speculation, right?
Yeah, two sources saying, "Hey, right, they're setting up, formalizing."
And we give it credibility because it's the FT. We know they're responsible in their journalism, and they try to be. So we would anticipate that is coming. But the fact is, we're waiting on the front end of speculation of maybe possible, could be.
Mm-hmm.
Yet it's a big article on the FT, and this is the sort of the gargantuan gravity that Saudi Arabia is bringing right now. So that's one thought. The second thought is, I think it probably makes sense to try and get a step removed from the PIF. We don't need to have. I'm sure they, it's just like in the litigation between LIV and PGA, they're trying to pull in the PIF and have Yasser Rumayyan testify and this sort of thing, and it's an uncomfortable place to be. I think the PIF would rather have it be removed. So I think from just an organizational standpoint, it makes sense. And as it mentions, you have the template with the Savvy Sports, which is a dedicated entity to go into esports and develop that sector. The third thing is why not? And I say that because it's October 2021, two things happened. Consummated the acquisition of Newcastle United, announced LIV. So we're well within 2 years, under 2 years since that date. Newcastle United has been an unmitigated success. I mean, this was a club that was, at death throes with its owner, between its constituents, its fans. It was about to be relegated from the Premier League. Had a tremendous season. Is now was at the top of the tables, pretty much in the Premier League this past season. The goodwill aside, the value of the club is being particularly enhanced, so it's a good business investment. LIV, as I said, with under 2 years ago, now has a seat at the table with the PGA and Global Golf. They have not taken over PGA, do not control PGA, but they are a partner in Newco, the company that they have created with PGA and the DP World Tour. And of course, we know that that's all still to be determined because it's an unfolding saga. But whatever brand they were trying to, whatever reputational bounce they were trying to get with LIV, is now transforming possibly into some economic and financial investment gain. So anyway, their forays into this have been successful. LIV is clearly still a major loss leader, but you can see what it's gotten them, and it's gotten them to the table to maybe transform into some real returns. And they're doing this across the table. They're looking, as we've talked about, they're looking at professional tennis, men's and women's, and we'll have a yellow on that. So anyway, those are my three thoughts, and there's probably more as I consider it, but it is interesting. The distance to the discussion has come with regard to Saudi participation in sports, and I hark back to Simon Chadwick, who made the point in that excellent episode that the FT should have drawn from. Saudi Arabia has spent decades punching below its weight. Now it appears to be punching at its weight or above.